Good evening, America, and welcome to a very special episode of the Just the News No Noise Show. Tonight, we're going to go to a very specific topic: tunnels to towers, a new path to solving veteran homelessness. I've been a reporter for nearly 40 years. I've spent most of that time in Washington, D.C. And when I first got to this town, we were talking about veteran homelessness. And 35 years later, we're still talking about it. It hasn't been solved. In fact, the numbers have gotten significantly worse. Somewhere between 30 and 50,000 veterans, men and women who served this country on the front lines, find themselves without a regular home. That is unsatisfactory. Government, private, so many different efforts have tried, but so little has actually succeeded. Tonight, we're going to take you inside one of the most exciting new projects to address this. It's having real impact. It's creating partnerships with American communities. It is getting homes, and not only homes for veterans, it's giving them a pathway to getting onto a sustainable life after some really rough bumps in their life. I'm so excited. We've talked on the show often about all the great work that Frank Siller and Tunnels to Towers does. It is one of the most impressive charities that have been built in the last 2 decades in America. It was born in the failures of 9/11. Today, it helps so many different people in this country with so many different crises, whether it's lost first responders, veterans who need homes, disabled veterans who need care, and now homeless veterans who also need a place to lay their head that is safe and healthy for them. Over the next hour, we're going to bring you inside the most extraordinary effort, including the groundbreaking of a brand new veterans home community in Florida, Bradenton, Florida. We're going to show you that in a few seconds. But first, if throughout the course of the hour tonight, you're inspired, you look at what Frank and his team has done at Tunnels to Towers, I have a quick ask for you. I want you to go to t2t.org, the number 2, t.org, and go make a contribution. I donate $11 a month. It's one of my favorite things to do. You should do the same thing. What Tunnels to Towers is doing today is solving things that government and others have tried but have failed. Frank has been succeeding. Go show him your support. Go to T2T today, learn how you can make a difference. t2t.org. All right, we're going to kick off this program with an extraordinary moment. It's a homeless veterans program in Houston, Texas. He's been a beneficiary of it. His name is Machio De La Grantis, and I want you to hear what he said about how his life changed when he got a place to lay his head at the good work of Tunnel to Towers.
I was in the Army 1969, summer of 1969, and I had pre-med background, so I went into the medic program there at Fort Bliss, basic training, advanced training, and then San Antonio, Fort Sam Houston, and then ultimately Fort Polk in Louisiana. A lot of the friends in my circle did not make it back home. Those that did frequently came back having left blood, tears, and parts of their body there in Vietnam. So I was endeavoring to reach out to help those that did come back home. So frequently I would be presented with people who were challenged in that arena. And my give back was to not charge them for any of the services. And so, much like my bishopric, I've been a bishop for over 40 years and a pastor before that. And but to date, I've never been on salary with any church. That again, my give back. And so I'm a philanthropist at heart. As you probably know, the state of Texas says I've given away more than 327,000 scholarships to children across the nation. Now, that doesn't include what we've done in Europe, but that's my joy. That's who I am. I'm a giver.
That's your legacy?
Yeah, that's my legacy. And I have 7 beautiful legacies, beautiful, blessed children who are all over the world, from Amsterdam, my son Brandon, to my daughter followed me. She was in the Air Force. I was in the Army. All right, but yeah, we are all givers. Yeah, the storm came through in Houston and really destroyed my home. FEMA came in and assessed and said, "Oh yeah, you need everything, blah blah blah, and we're going to be right back with you in probably 2 weeks. We'll be getting started on you." And of course, that was more than 2 years ago. That was more than 4 years ago, and I haven't heard from them. But that's okay. They help a lot of people, and I'm happy. But ultimately, I was in a 5-car pileup that came after a T-bone collision that both put me in the hospital. And while in the hospital, I needed 3 surgeries: cracked neck, torn up rotator cuff, and lumbar, all 3. And things that I thought I had kind of disappeared when there was no one to fund those payments and things like that, you know. So I ended up, when I was leaving the hospital and didn't have a place to go, someone from the church said, "Well, you can come stay with us for a little bit." And when a little bit ended, I was sleeping in a 20-year-old borrowed Honda that had the windshield crack, driver side window busted out, glass all over the little 2-seater. And but that was home for me for a year and a half. And I would park it under the tree after the business slowed down at Whataburger. And I would go in and refresh myself first thing in the morning there. And I didn't think they knew I was there. And I would come out, I was short of change. So I'd put change together and get my breakfast on the bun, less than $3. And one morning I woke up and they were knocking on my window and they said, "We have your breakfast for you." And because I really was embarrassed, actually, to be there. So I waited till everything calmed down, business slowed down, and then I went there and parked. And they never told me to get away from there. Yeah. Perhaps because we are embarrassed. We are embarrassed to have been warriors and fought for this great nation, and we've come back home to a non-reception. And there is enough emoting out of our experience that says you are less than. We went to war, soldiers in different branches, and while we were outside of the country, we were somebody. And then there are those who have come back to a different society than we've been experienced while our military life was really grand. And so in this new experience, we thought we were going to be embraced, and then we find out, no. Because somebody cared. Somebody cared enough for us. The forgotten Americans. To do all of this. And you have no idea where we were living before. It was a rat hole with drug addicts right on the corner coming in and out freely. And when we were reported, the staff would say, "Thank you for reporting it," but technically, the people who own this place, we can't do anything about that. And so again, that was like, you're nothing, you're less than. Nobody can protect you. And then this incredible expression of love. For me, this is a breath starting today, and it's a bridge for our tomorrow. And we cannot thank all of you enough for what you do, for caring, and for being here, for all of us, the melting pot of all ethnicities, and those lines of demarcation are not there right now. Thank you. Thank you. It's family. It is COMM-UNITY. Community. We can relate to each other. We embrace each other as fellow Americans again, because we were that when we were in other countries in uniform, and that makes us proud all over again and stand up again. The people working here seemingly around the clock and being so respectful of each of us. Some of us, like George, had been in that rat hole for 20 years. I didn't know that. I was in that rat hole for 4 years. But I worked diligently to augment. So I would counsel the veterans frequently. And they would say, Bishop, you need to talk to so-and-so. They're talking about killing themselves. And then I would go to that apartment and take a Bible and just wait for them to open up and see what their need was. I'm not the evangelist type that you gotta, most of us just need to be heard. And I gave them that opportunity to vent. And because of my training as a psychotherapist, I added a lot more to their scenarios, and I'm honored. And so there were so many people who honestly were dying in that rat hole. So here, there is one soldier. It's the mosaic. That's us. We are one again. Frankly, for lack of a better phrase, it means everything. It means emotional well-being. It means security, yes. And the fact that everything is new, I don't think any of us actually could have afforded not one thing to go out and purchase it because we are fixed income. And so, and for those 4 years that I was in that horrible place, if I bought something, it was at a garage sale or a resale. Hey, I'm looking fine today, resale. But I make it work, and that's what all of us do. We take the little we have, and then we massage it. We make it work, and we look out for each other.
Wow, what an interview. That is where happens when you give money to t2t.org. That's where your money goes. You're helping heroes like that get back on their feet. Go to t2t.org right now. Go make a donation. Go match me. I donate $11 a month. You can do that. Go do it. It's the price of a coffee. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, the man running the homeless initiative at the Tunnel to Towers organization will be joining us, Gavin Naples, right after these messages. Welcome back, America, to this special report. We're examining how Tunnel to Towers Foundation has made an enormous difference serving veterans who've been homeless. Believe it or not, tens of thousands of American veterans are homeless. That is an unacceptable condition, and that's why Tunnel to Towers once again jumped into the fire and has created a solution. And joining us right now, the quarterback for that project, he's the vice president at Tunnel to Towers Foundation, Gavin Naples, and he joins us right now. Gavin, good to have you on.
John, thank you so much for having me.
So I'd like to just start off, because I think a lot of people think, well, we got the VA, we got all these programs, there's no problem with veteran homelessness. It's a really serious problem, right? It's tens of thousands, right?
It really is. There's over 35,000 veterans experiencing chronic homelessness. We at the Tunnel to Towers Foundation believe that the number is actually quite higher. Veterans that are sleeping on their brother's couch or just got divorced, just lost their employment opportunity. They may be, insecure in housing and they're not counted federally. So we believe the number is closer to 50,000, unfortunately.
Wow. And I'm hearing a lot more women veterans as well, right?
Yes, absolutely, as well as families, which is the most unfortunate.
Yeah, no, amazing. All right, so like you've done so many times before, Tunnel to Towers and Frank Silva, you jump into the fire, you put together a veterans homeless crisis solution. Walk us through what you've done and where you are in that process.
Absolutely. So the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has committed to eradicating homelessness amongst veterans nationwide. And with so many nationwide, obviously that's a tall order. But what we've done in a very, very tight time frame is developed a two-pronged model to address this. The first is our veterans villages. We are going throughout the nation to the places where the rates of homelessness are highest, and in turn veteran homelessness are highest. And we are acquiring hospitality properties and converting them into full permanent housing supportive service centers for veterans. We're also buying raw land and developing apartment complexes for veterans, long-term permanent housing. But it's obviously not enough to just provide the quality housing accommodation for a veteran that's struggling. You need to pair it with the supportive services that can rehabilitate and reintegrate veterans back into the community. So we have 24/7 supportive services on site for all of our veterans villages. We have about 12 different projects in various stages of acquisition and development now in these large metro areas. But the second prong of our program is our National Case Management Network. And that is anywhere in the nation where a veteran or their family is struggling with homelessness, we have an internal team that onboard these veterans, provide them direct financial assistance to get them housed in their area. And then we work with over 1,000 supportive service organizations nationwide to provide them that supportive service on a more remote basis. So we're able to help veterans and their families in real time outside of these large metro areas. So it's sort of the national blanket that we've cast to address this issue.
Yeah, and it's such a holistic approach. Everybody we've talked to said that, boy, this is a model. This is how you do it. You don't just worry about a key to an apartment. You're giving that veteran the entire tools to make sure that they can get on their feet and succeed going forward. I think that's what's so exciting about this. All right, so the first village, I think, was in Houston last year. Is that right?
Correct. Yes, we opened our Houston Veterans Village in November of last year. It houses 131 veterans.
Amazing. All right. And then recently broke ground in two new locations, right? Bradenton, Florida, one I'm familiar with.
Yes, absolutely. Manatee County was very gracious, and they donated 9 acres to the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, a former utilities building. We're going to be knocking that down and creating an 85-unit apartment complex surrounded by a village of 35 of our comfort homes. Also in Atlanta, Georgia, we purchased a dilapidated former hotel in the new city of Mableton. We're going to be performing a complete gut renovation, and that'll provide 92 permanent housing units for veterans in Atlanta.
Boy, just fantastic, just amazing. And as you look out across the country, where are some of the other hot spots that you may be looking at right now to make a difference?
Absolutely. So we've purchased a hotel that we're going to begin converting in the next few months in Memphis, Tennessee. We have land in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, that we're going to be developing an apartment complex in a veterans village on the Susquehanna River. In Buffalo, New York, Las Vegas, Denver, Charleston, South Carolina, Toms River, New Jersey, Long Island, Detroit, North Carolina. That's what we have our sights set on right now, and there'll be many, many more as the months go on.
Boy, it's just amazing. And from one tragedy of 9/11, Frank and your team have made so many solutions to other crises in America. It's so inspiring. Now, this takes a lot of money, takes a lot of resources. Tell us what you're going to need to finish this mission. By the time you get all the places you want up and running, what do you need, and how can we all help as everyday Americans?
Well, we have over 1,000 units currently under some stage of development now. So obviously, a tremendous financial undertaking. So we need the help of the American public to support Tunnel to Towers. 95 cents of every dollar goes away to our programs, and you can donate by going to t2t.org.
Yeah, so simple. Now, you got a lot of fun events and other things. And one of the great things about T2T is that not only is it patriotic, not only is it solving problems, but you do fun things. You got an upcoming 5K run, right? And walk up, and is that in Staten Island soon?
So our annual 5K is the last Sunday of September, retracing the steps of firefighter Stephen Siller, who ran through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel into the South Tower. I mean, nearly 40,000 race participants this year. The number just keeps growing. So that's going to be an incredible event. But we have walks, climbs, and runs all throughout the nation, hundreds that donate to Tunnel to Towers.
Yeah, such a great way to do it. 4th of July, I think you're in Iowa this year, right?
Yes, we're going wide all over the place. So I know that there's quite a few things in the works for the 4th of July to remember our fallen first responder families, our Gold Star families, and our catastrophically injured veterans, as well as our homeless veterans.
It's so amazing. It's also so amazing what just giving someone the comfort of a home again can do to start putting their life back together. And I think that's what's so excited about this project. The tower climb is, I think, one of the most historic moments. It commemorates all the lives lost that day, including Stephen Siller, Frank's brother. 22 years, this will be the 23rd year. You guys haven't lost any resolve with that, have you?
Absolutely not. We had that about a week and a half ago. Over 1,000 participants running all 100 and climbing all 110 floors of the Trade Center. It's an incredible event.
Yeah, probably some tired legs when they're done too. That's quite a haul, I'll tell you that.
I keep yelping.
It's amazing. It is amazing. You got to do a workout before you're going to do that one. I want to turn to some of the other things that Tunnels to Towers. Obviously, homelessness, which is a crisis that the government struggled with. You guys have stepped into that void, but you have so many other extraordinary programs. Let's start with what you do for the fallen officers in this great country.
Sure. So our Fallen First Responder program pays off the mortgages and provides new homes for the families of fallen first responders, police officers, firefighters, and EMT workers that are killed in the line of duty that leave behind small children. Our Gold Star program pays off the mortgages and provides new homes for fallen military members that don't return home from war that leave behind a family and small children. And our Smart Home program provides specially adapted smart homes to catastrophically injured veterans that return home from war.
Yeah, just an amazing.
Provided over 1,200 homes to our recipients over the last 20 plus years, many, many more on the way.
It's just amazing. So talk about impact. And as you pointed out, nearly every penny of every dollar goes to the work and not to any overhead. It's one of the leanest, meanest running charities in the world. You do such great work on that. I want to turn back to where we started the conversation with homelessness. As you begin to build these villages, as you begin to engage and you've got the entire holistic approach, what are you learning from veterans about what led to that journey where they're in the military and then one day they find themselves on the street? What are some of the learnings from the early program that you could share with us?
Absolutely. So veterans, a lot of the times, once they enter the military, they're looking to escape a bad situation. Not always, but a good amount of the time. And so their military career is really the height of their life. And then upon their return to civilian life, it's very disillusioning. Veterans find that their skills that they honed in the military are not transferable in the civilian context, and that's simply not true. So through our supportive services that we provide on site, we work with veterans to get their entitlements, to get gainful employment opportunities, entrepreneurial career paths, not just mundane jobs, things that can really highlight and accentuate the skills that they've honed on, through their career. And obviously, PTSD is, a tremendous barrier, an issue that are facing veterans. So we have PTSD and mental health counseling, behavioral health counseling to help veterans work through that. And then a lot of veterans return home with severe, physical ailments that they've, had through their military career. So that entitlements assistance and navigating the VA can be very challenging to veterans, but they need the VA to an extent. So we work as sort of a facilitator between the VA and the veterans, to bridge that gap and make it a little bit easier.
Stepping into the gaps and filling them. That's what you guys do so great. I understand, because we never want to forget what happened on 9/11. You guys have some remembrance bands of people. You can go over to twt.org and get those. Tell us why the bands are so popular.
T2T.org, absolutely. Just so people can, people want to remember 9/11. And as you know, more time and time passes, obviously, people have busy lives, but it's something that really shaped us as a generation, and it really brought the nation together in a time of strife. So people, you know, that call to remember what occurred and the lives that were lost and the bravery that was shown by the American people that day, and you know, subsequent to that day, is really what we're trying to instill.
I love it. I'm going to get some of those bands for all of my relatives for this 4th of July. Folks, if you want to do that, go to T2T.org. If you want to match me, I do $11 a month like so many other great Americans. Go do it today. Make this homelessness project a total success. Gavin, thank you so much for joining us. Your work is amazing. Folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, more discussion about this very important issue right after these messages. Welcome back, America, to our special tonight, Tunnel to Towers Foundation and its path to helping America's homeless veterans. We've talked a lot about how the program got started, who the people are that are being helped. In this next block, I want to introduce you to somebody who has partnered with Tunnel to Towers to make a homeless community, I should say, a community of homes for veterans, a veterans village in Bradenton, Florida. He's the mayor of that great town. He partnered with Tunnel to Towers. I want you to hear directly from Gene Brown on how this came to be. Take a watch.
You know, with the Tunnels for Towers coming in and doing a generational change for our veterans and our homeless veterans. And as a city and a county, we work together and collaborate. And we're fortunate that, you know, we were able to get with the right people and get the opportunity to say, hey, what can we do to help our homeless and especially our homeless veterans? And we're just proud that Tunnels for Towers is willing to come to us and come in this town and work together with us. I think what makes Bradenton unique is that the collaboration amongst our community. And when you look at the government officials that are willing to work together to not only go to Tunnel to Towers to actually make things, you know, collaboration. And, you know, when it takes a village. And really, when you look, there's not one of us in this community that wouldn't go and help somebody. And, you know, the veterans, you know, were willing to lay down their lives, and all of us have stories about family members and different things. And some have that gave that ultimate sacrifice, and you look back. But with what Tunnel to Towers is doing in collaborating together. And I was very proud today when he told the list of what Tunnel to Towers is working in other communities and at Bradenton, Florida. You look at their big cities, there are other cities that have, you know, maybe more than we have, but Bradenton and the collaboration is willing to work together.
Do you know what this facility is going to provide for some of these veterans?
Well, that's another huge thing. It's not just a place to sleep. It's actually wraparound services, whether it's medical, whether it's more mental health that we need, whether it's job services, whatever you're going to need, it's going to be here. And that's probably one of the most important things that I've seen with our cities and our county collaborating together. You know, and the Tunnel to Towers is going to be veteran based, but this is also going to help every other organization in the community to not only help the veterans, but to help other homeless, which Tunnel to Towers is going to be that staple in helping it get started even better. I think my grandfather, and a lot of people say in the family, I was 6 years old when my grandfather passed, but I hung out with him a lot because my mom was working and I would go to work with him. And so I remember my grandfather before he passed, but one of the things that he was a giver.
And can you mention how your grandfather served?
Yeah, he served in World War II on a U-boat. And I told you this story that he actually, in those days, birth certificates weren't readily available. So if your mom signed something, you could say how old you were. Well, he actually started when he was 14. She said he was 18, and he served 4 years in World War II on a U-boat over there with a group of guys. And, you know, I mean, to me, I have a 14-year-old grandson right now. I couldn't imagine him doing that. But to see where, you know, the pride in your country and what you're willing to do, and just to say, hey, he was there, and today I believe he would be here as proud as I am of saying what we're doing as a community to help others, because that was one of the things. I'm named after him, and they say, you know, that I kind of look like him a little bit, and some of the work ethics are there, and that's just one of those things you look at, you say, what would it be like And, we don't have to imagine what it is living on the street for us from the standpoint of what we do day to day, but we know what we see. And again, there isn't anything any of us wouldn't do to help somebody. But when you have a collaboration like this, it's unbelievable. I think a homeless shelter, and again, there's all different things that you look at, timing, and obviously sometimes homeless shelters are for a short time, and you want to try to find them, but they may not have the collaboration of all of the other community services, where with Tunnel to Towers, it's going to be actually the home that person has. And I loved what our MC said today about Mr. Siller and saying that, if I wouldn't live in it, why am I going to have somebody else live in it? And that gives me a little bit of renewed energy to say what we're doing for everything, because this community collaboratively is looking at a lot of different options for our homeless in general, and especially now with the Tunnel to Towers homeless veterans home, not shelter, home. But they're going to be able to get those wraparound services, whether it's medical, whether it's work related, whether just all of it. And that's what's so impressive. Yeah, we hope to have the facility open by sometime the third, fourth quarter, 2025. And but those are the collaborative things that sometimes you don't control, but sooner is better. And I know that with the architects, the engineers, the builders, they're going to work their butts off to make that happen. I think when you look at it, and again, they named probably 15 cities that Tunnel to Towers is working in now and working through, and I think today you're going to see an energy from this group. If you haven't donated yet, to the T2T for the $11 and all of that, I think you're going to see that next step. And, again, that's a legacy thing that the Siller family has started. And, from one tragedy, that our country had suffered, you come out of something great. And you always like to come out with great things without tragedy, but that's what we deal with in life. And I think that this will be that next step. And when you look at it, okay, so why doesn't Sarasota have it? Why doesn't Tampa have it? And I would be the first one, and I know our county commissioners and our city council members would be the first ones to say, how can we help? And that's important. So in life, you look at moments in your life. Some are good, some are tough, some are growing moments. And I know my mom always talked about where she was when President Kennedy was shot and killed. She was in high school in 11th grade in the class she was in, and she knew right where it was. And I think our generation at this point knows where you were at 9 a.m. on September 11th in the morning. And when you look back on it, you say, okay, that's our moment. And I was actually at my family business, and we were having some equipment delivered, and our lawn guy pulls in and says, hey, something's going on, I heard on the radio. So we all went up, about 6 of us went upstairs, and we had a little teeny TV we turned on, and that's right about when the second plane hit the tower. And what I immediately thought of was my cousin is NYPD, and he was probably in his 8th or 9th year at that time. And so I called my mom and I checked with her, and she said that her sister, who lived in New York at that time, had already called and said, I can't get a hold of Willie, because he was on. And so for about 24 hours they couldn't get a hold of my cousin. And my aunt didn't know, because they were talking about all the firefighters and police officers that were there. And fortunately for our family, Willie was able to get out before, but stayed the whole time and working. And then he actually signed up. He was a reserve Army at that point, and that next day he signed up and spent 2 tours in Iraq. Boots on the street Army. And it's one of those distant cousins, but and you talk to him once every 10 years probably. But he has recently just retired after almost 30 years with NYPD, because when he came home, went right back with the police. So everybody has that story or that thing. One of the probably surrealist moments is we went back outside because they were finished what we were doing, and you could look up because President Bush was at Sarasota Airport, and you could look up, and I was counting hundreds of fighter jets. It was amazing, because they didn't know if that attack was then going to come to where the president was. And we're looking up, and when Air Force One went over, it was as low as I think they could ever be to get up, because they were trying to stay low and keep it there, and you almost could reach out and touch it. So that was a moment that in my life I'll never forget. And one of the most important things in the position I'm in now is every year at our waterfront, and we have our memorial for our police and firefighters, but on September 11th, 9 a.m., since the second year got started, every year we celebrate that moment. And we try to bring in a lot of our younger people, and especially the grandkids and that are there, because we want them to remember. Because if you start to forget, all of it goes in the past, and then we forget, what's that next moment. And I think that our military, as we've seen, they're struggling to get people to join anymore. But I think you're going to see a resurgence of that with this next generation of younger kids, because pride in country is coming back, I believe. Think about who you are and what you would do for anybody. And I know that every American, no matter what political field you believe on, what side, you are for our country. And anything that you can do would be to give that $11 a month, that's one meal, don't go out to lunch, but we would all give it. And one of the things I'm most impressed with is, there's the big people that can donate thousands or millions and a lot of money, but that $11 is changing your life because you're giving, and it's changing somebody else's to do it. And it's just an honor to be involved in that.
Wow, what a great interview. Listen, when Tunnels to Towers does this, they need partners in the community. Mayor Brown shows you how special he and his community is and how committed they are to solving this problem. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, one of my favorite interviews, the founder, the CEO of Tunnels to Towers, Frank Siller, my good friend, up right after these messages.
Let's make them wonder. Let's squeeze them for a change instead of them constantly squeezing us. And then, finally, we rally around President Trump. We surround him with support.
Welcome back, America, to this special edition of Just the News, No Noise. Over the last 2 decades, we've often remembered the sacrifices, the losses, the horror of September 11, 2001. One man took the tragedy of that day, by the way, a tragedy that hit his family directly. He lost his brother, a firefighter, that morning, and he turned it into one of the most impactful charitable organizations, one of the most impactful foundations America has ever seen. 95% of the money it raises goes to the causes and the people it is trying to help. We're talking about the one, the only, the chairman and CEO of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, and my good friend, Frank Siller. Frank, great to have you back on the show.
John, so nice to be on with you.
I'm always amazed. It seems like every 6 months I go and check out what's going on at T2T, and all of a sudden there's a new initiative, something meaningful, powerful, changing lives. And as I said at the top of the show, I've been in this town 35 years, Washington, D.C. Veterans homelessness was a problem then. It's worse today. You have stepped in and created a real meaningful solution. People are excited in these communities. What inspired you to do it?
Well, look, John, these great heroes, they go out to protect us, right? They put their lives on the line for us. They risk their lives. And a lot of times after they come back from war, they come back, settle here back into America. And for some whatever reason, they can't assimilate back into society. So we've been watching it for years. The Tunnel to Towers, all of America has been watching it for years. And it's a shame that nobody has been able to step up and solve the problem. A lot of organizations have been doing beautiful things, so I just want that understood.
Sure.
And we're new to doing this, so I'm not telling you that we're greater or bigger than anybody else, but I will say this, that when we at the Tunnel to Towers Foundation say we're going to do something, we do it. And we've been working on, for the last couple of years, a real comprehensive plan that can actually eradicate homelessness amongst our veterans. It takes a lot of money. It doesn't take the kind of money that the government spends on it, that's for sure. We do it, just for instance, I think in California, it's a $600,000 plus per homeless veteran to get off the streets. We're, $135,000, per veteran off the street, but not just in a, we're putting them in a beautiful village. Yep. We're not putting them in a shelter. So we're even doing it in a much better way, and much more beautiful way, and we're making a very big impact. So we've been working on this plan. It's comprehensive. You talk to Gavin Naples, my VP over here, at Tunnel to Towers Foundation. He's doing a terrific job. What a team we have that are working on it. And now we just have to continuously raise the money to execute it, because yes, we have the plan. We know how to get it done. Now we need the resources, and we do have some of the resources to get going, to do the groundbreaking that you just saw, Bradenton, Florida, the village that we're doing there, the one we just did in Houston, and others that we have going, but we need everybody's support.
It does. And folks, if you want to support, this is a very simple thing. Go to t2t.org and go make a donation right now. Your money is going to make a difference. Frank, what I love about this when I dug in and learned about it is that you really took a holistic approach. You're not giving a shelter, you're giving a home, but you're not stopping with just handing over keys and say, have at it. You're creating a whole solution for a veteran to make sure that they have a long, sustainable run of success. Talk a little bit about the other elements that this program brings beyond just the bed and the home and a community.
Well, so that is part of the comprehensive plan that we came up with to make sure that we are actually going to be successful. Because, look, what is the definition of success? Now, if you're a Vietnam homeless veteran, you're not going to go back to work. We know that. They need permanent housing. They need to be taken care of. First of all, they were never taken care of the proper way when they came back from Vietnam. But right now, a lot of them are still in the streets, and that's just unacceptable, as you said earlier. So we know that's a comfort home that you're looking at right now. That's a 500 square foot home that will house these great older homeless veterans, and they have their own place to put their head down, take their own shower, have their own food, and have their own space. Yet it'll be in a community of other veterans, so they're not alone, and that's part of it. So, but we do want a success rate of having a lot of the younger homeless veterans back into society. So what are we doing? Gavin touched on a lot of it, but we're doing supportive services that for including job training. Very important, right? We got to get them back out to get a job so they can buy their own home, right? Benefit assistance, what they get from the VA. A lot of them don't even know. Education assistance. We want a lot of them a few credits short on going to get a particular job. We want to make sure they get back in there to get those credits to go get a better job so they can be financially independent. And then we do financial budgeting, assistance budgeting for them, because we have to once again put them on a good on a good path. Legal advocacy for what they're entitled to, medical care access back to the VA centers. A lot of these villages that we're building and hotels that we're buying, that we're revamping into these villages, are close to VA centers, because VA is our partner in this, and as we need the VA system for these guys to get all the services that they offer. I don't have to reinvent the wheel on that one. Why should I spend the money when it's already accessible, where I can help more homeless veterans when I use the VA system? And then, of course, the mental health support and PTSD counseling, and, of course, drug addiction and whatever else goes along with it. They respond beautifully, John. They respond. These are great heroes. You give them an opportunity to take a step forward, they listen, they do it, and they respond.
It's an amazing thing to watch, as we saw at the beginning of the show, one of the many beneficiaries. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. I want to stay on this conversation with Frank. We'll have a few messages from our advertisers, and we'll be back. I want to tell you where this homeless initiative goes next right after this. Welcome back, everybody. We got a few more minutes with the extraordinary Frank Siller, the chairman and CEO of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Frank, before we went to commercial break, we were talking about the holistic approach, all the different things that go into making a veteran who's been homeless and getting them back onto their feet. We have Houston open last November. Now you got 3 groundbreakings, or 2 more groundbreakings, Bradenton, the most recent. Where do you go next?
Well, so we're going to be, right now we're in the works of about 15 different locations, but wow. The real close is Toms River, New Jersey, Memphis, Tennessee. We already bought that. Buffalo, New York, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and Detroit, Michigan. But once again, we're doing things in Arizona, out in LA, all over in Las Vegas. We're all over the United States because it's a tremendous problem. The government says approximately 40,000 homeless veterans. We know there's a lot more. Listen to this, John. Last year and a half, we had 5,000 homeless vets that we took care of off the streets. 5,000. And we didn't put a dent in that number, that 40,000 number, because there's a lot more out there. A lot of the government doesn't count as homeless veterans. We do. If you're living out of a car, you don't have a home. If you're going from, you're getting evicted from a hotel, or you don't have the resources to get into a hotel, you don't have a home. You don't have an apartment. You don't have a house. You don't have any of those things. So 5,000 of those great heroes we got off the street in the last year and a half, and we're on target to do another 5,000 this year. We have a comprehensive program where we take a national case management program where we work with these great organizations, another 1,000 homeless organizations throughout America, and we respond like this when we hear about a family or somebody who's just going out in the street. We don't want them on the street. We don't want them to be part of that 40,000 great hero statistic. We want to save them beforehand. So we've been doing that. So we have all these great locations that we're doing all over the United States. We're buying these hotels, the first floor of these hotels that we're doing these apartments, some permanent housing, some transitional, have all those services that I just talked about in the last block.
Just amazing. And with lightning speed, and you said something really important. You try to stop the cycle even before it starts. The second you know a veteran may be in danger of becoming homeless, you're there. It's such a remarkable approach to it. And yet you haven't stopped any of the other things that Tunnel to Towers are doing today. You're building homes for families who've lost loved ones. You're helping wounded warriors. You've got all your runs. Bring us up to speed on just all the other things. Got about a couple minutes left, but all the other things you're doing at T2T.
Well, John, this is what I say, that our first commitment was to build specially adapted smart homes for our country's most catastrophically injured service members. We're doing that at a larger scale than we've ever done before. I used to do, when we first started building these smart homes in 2010, I did 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 10 a year. Now we're up to 40 this year, 60 next year, and 80 the year after. And that's how many still catastrophically injured service members that need specially adapted mortgage-free smart homes. And that's how many we're building on that. Hundreds of first responders who die in the line of duty that leave young children behind. It's just like there was a police officer recently that was just killed in the Detroit area.
That's right.
Right. His wife, unbelievable, Jacqueline Reckling, Officer Reckling, was basically assassinated, ambushed, and he left behind a wife with 3 girls. I was just talking to her the other day because I told her we're going to pay off her mortgage, but she's also pregnant with their 4th child. And they just renovated their house. Could you imagine the expense that they have? And now their loved one was shot and killed just because he was a police officer. Now, we're going to take care of that family, but we're taking care of hundreds of those families every year. That is a promise. If you're a Gold Star, a widow, and your loved one died in the line of duty and you have a young family left behind, we're going to pay off your mortgage. And if you don't have a home, we're going to build you a home. That is our promise that we're going to do for all these great heroes.
It's just amazing what you started, Frank. And all this came from a tragedy in your own family, losing your amazing brother, Stephen, who ran through the tunnel, went up into the towers on 9/11, lost his life trying to save others. You never let that tragedy stop you from helping others. It's just a remarkable thing. I'm so proud to know you, so proud to be a part of the T2T community, and thank you for what you're doing. There's a lot of people in this country that smile every time I mention your name. Thanks for what you do, Frank. Thank you. St. Francis of Assisi said, brothers and sisters, let us do good, and let us do good and honor all these great heroes. T2T.org. You have done extraordinary good and a lot more to come. I'm certain of that. Folks, if you've been inspired by what you just saw and heard today, there's a simple thing you can do. This isn't a big ask, but it'll make you feel good and you'll know you're making a difference. Go to T.org and donate. Pick one of these causes, get involved. There are events, there's golf outings, there are runs and 5K walks. Go do something. Don't sit on the sidelines when there are 50,000 veterans out there who don't have a home. We can make that go away. Frank is doing it, his part, you do yours. That's the thought I want to leave you with tonight. T2T.org. Have a great night, folks. We'll be back on Monday with regular programming.